According to you, Diego Melara, what is a 21st century philosopher?
Elvin Santos.
In English, why?
Because he is a person that could change the people's way of thinking, and
With ideology.
and he thinks outside of the box, and I think he analyzes the way he's going to act and his next step.
What characteristics do philosophers have?
Well, being intelligent, analyzing his observations and experiments, and thinking outside of the box.
Not being afraid of failure.
And they also don't fear anything.
Name one modern day philosopher and explain why you believe he is a philosopher.
My brother, Yuri Melara.
Why?
Because he transfers his wisdom to me by many different ways.
Like for example?
For example, he teaches me from his errors. When he does a mistake, he tells me not to do it in the future.
How old do you think you have to be to become a philosopher?
When you begin to reason.
Ah, okay, yes. Thank you. Hello, Miss Bonilla.
Good morning.
According to you, what is a 21st century philosopher?
21st century philosopher. I think a philosopher is someone who has a belief system, someone who follows that belief system, and someone who has a certain idea and runs with it.
And what characteristics do you think most philosophers have?
Characteristics of a philosopher. Someone who is confident, someone who is
Not afraid to fail.
has beliefs that they are willing to persuade others to think about.
Can you name one modern day philosopher and explain why you think he or she is one?
I would say my parents. They have very good beliefs, and in raising us, as they had 4 kids, and in raising us, they persuaded us to believe a certain way, and raised us to think that way.
How old do you think you have to be to become a philosopher?
I don't know if you have to set an age on that, if there has to be an age on when you, I don't think there has to be an age set.
Well, thank you, Miss.
You're welcome.
Mr. McDowell. According to you, what is a 21st century philosopher?
Well, I'll just take a literal definition. It's a philosopher in the 21st century. But as opposed to earlier philosophers, I think that an important facet is that they'll have to take into account technology. So not only would they have the general characteristics of previous philosophers, but they would also have to discuss how technology is changing our life and pose questions, based upon the use of technology.
What characteristics do you think philosophers have?
Well, all philosophers, I think, should be very good at posing questions, not necessarily answers, but questions that provoke thought.
Could you name one modern day philosopher and explain why you think he or she is one? Could be a family member.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of Stephen Hawkins, because he often talks about the implications of technology and poses questions about technology in the future and the ethics of technology.
How old do you think you have to be to become a philosopher?
Well, that's a good question. One time I read an article, for example, athletes time out very young.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're 30 years old, you're well past your prime, and you're probably in your prime when you're
22.
22 or something like that. But philosophers, as I recall, reach their peak, and sometimes in their 70s. Rarely do you see a famous philosopher, for example, in their 20s. Because I think that, philosophers probably reach their peak later because a lot of it depends upon crystallized knowledge.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Hello, Miss Mills. According to you, what is a 21st century philosopher?
To me, a 21st century philosopher would be that individual who's searching the truth in a technological world.
And what characteristics do you think all philosophers have, modern day?
All of them are searching for truth, that endless truth.
And could you name a modern day philosopher and explain why he or she is one?
I don't know how modern he is, but it would be Hegel. He was always looking for that ultimate truth, looking into that materialistic world, the ongoing, the endless truth.
How old do you think you have to be to become a philosopher?
I think there shouldn't be any age. It's just how interested, knowledgeable, profound, and an individual that is constantly looking for the truth.
What kind of truth?
Truth to everyone is something. Truth to Hegel would be one to Socrates would be another one. That truth that they have to find.
Okay, thank you, Miss. Good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
According to you, what is a 21st century philosopher?
Well, with modern ideas, maybe the same as our old philosophers in the ancient Greece. Maybe they have the same basis, but they have new ideas.
What characteristics do philosophers have?
Characteristics, they have to be, how do you say, they have a lot of meditation, they study, they go a lot into metaphysics, they do a lot of thinking, they're thinkers.
Could you name one modern day philosopher and explain why he or she is one?
Oh wow, maybe Hegel? I don't know, I can't think of right now a modern philosopher, maybe Hegel.
Oh, candidato.
With his new ideas and everything.
Do you think that the presidential candidates of these year's elections are modern day philosophers?
No.
No. Why not?
Well, they just give their own ideas. What they're giving is their opinion and trying to convince people with all these political phrases. But they're not going into philosophy.
They're not thinking outside the box.
Outside the
box?
No.
How old do you think you have to be to become a philosopher?
Very young. Maybe, there's some young philosophers I know that they can go into their studies. I don't think there's any age for that. Because ancient Greek, a lot of them start very young.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
You're welcome.